Hi, it's Debbie O'Connor from White River Design and Brand Magic, and I'm here today to share with you episode 2 of our Brand Magic, exploring branding and why it is so amazing and so fantastic and how it's really going to benefit your business. So in the last episode, I looked at the fact that your logo is not your brand, that there is so much more to branding than simply just having a symbol, having a logo, having particular colors or a particular font. And we went into that a little bit more to find out what actually branding was. So what I want to look at today is why branding is so powerful, why people that love Apple products never ever want to change over to being an Android customer. I want to look at why when you find a hairdresser that you love or who does your hair properly, why you tend to stick with that hairdresser, come thick or thin, for a very long time. And this goes on. We can talk about mechanics in the same light, going to your favorite cafe. There's so many different areas where branding applies, and it's got nothing to do with your logo. So one of the myths that a lot of people think is out there is the fact that a brand is going to cost you a lot of money. And the reality is that not branding is going to cost you even more, because if you don't brand your business, it means that you're not creating a connection with your customers. You're not creating a reason for them to come back to you time and time again. You're not giving them an excuse to rave about you and tell all their friends about you. So essentially you're losing business, because not only are you losing that particular customer, but you're also losing the potential of what they could be bringing along with them as a repeat customer, but also as far as their friends and their family are concerned as well. So I really want us to look at branding as being an investment, not an expense. And the great thing about branding is once you've done that groundwork, as in your brand strategy, what your promise is, what you stand for, how you're going to connect with your customers, what kind of experience you're going to create for them, once that groundwork is done, once you know what your personality is, your language, your tone, then branding is all about maintaining that consistency and not flip-flopping and chasing, bright, shiny things and deciding, oh, that font looks great, let's try that now, and oh, I want that to stand out, and because it's hot pink, I think it's a great idea, even though it's not part of my brand colors. So what branding does, and having a strategy, means it keeps you concise, it keeps you on track, it makes sure that you're consistent with everything that you do, the message that you send, how you're going to communicate with everybody. So what I'd like to look at today are just a couple of things as to, number one, how you can do that in your business, but number two, the importance of having this whole idea with a brand and not leaving it up to chance. So a number of people will say, well, why should I spend any money on branding? Why can't I just do a good job and people will then just keep coming back? Well, here's the thing, that branding is not about what you say about your business. Branding is what others think about you. Now, if you don't have any structure around that, if you don't put anything in place to try and say, well, this is the kind of service I want to provide, this is what we stand for, this is our promise, this is the experience we're going to create. If there's nothing like that in place, it means that one customer might have one kind of experience while somebody else might have another. And what tends to happen is clients that don't have a good experience will tell 7 people, whereas clients that have a really good experience might only tell 1 or 2 when the topic comes up of, can you recommend somebody? So you can see that there's quite a big disconnect, that if you are not putting structure in place to try and get the client to think about you the way you want them to think about you, then it's really up for grabs as to how they're going to interpret what you're trying to say and what kind of reputation you're going to have. So the thing about building a brand is, I've said before in the previous episode, that a lot to do with branding is about connection. It's about how you resonate with your customer. It might be that you understand their pain points and you're providing a really good solution for that. It might be the fact that you have particular products that fill particular needs. Keep in mind that there are a number of reasons why people don't buy. There's no need, no time, no want, no money. But you might actually be able to fit into certain areas. Even though someone might turn around and say, I don't have enough money, what they're actually saying is that is of no value to me right now. So what you're wanting to do is make sure that when it comes to your brand, you're putting it in front of the right people at the right time, giving them the right message that it's going to connect with them. And once people start coming to you and using your service, if you're doing the right thing and they love what you do, the reality is that they will come back. And soon as they become repeat customers, the more they come back to you, the more repeat business that you get from them, the more loyal they actually become. So long term, you're building up your client base through loyalty. And the best defense against your competitors is that loyalty. And you might have actually seen this with potentially some of your competitors, where you might look at them and go, why are they getting all the clients that I want to get? And you know what? I can't seem to bring them over to my side. They just tend to stay with them. And that's because there's brand loyalty there. That's because they know the brand, they love the brand, they know what they're going to get every time they go and get a service or a product from them. They have this trust and understanding that's going on there. So you can see how just by being able to create that connection, working on that brand aesthetic side of things, that you can create these loyal customers. Now the thing about loyal customers is that if they've had a good experience, they will want to tell other people. If somebody asks the advice, and you see it on Facebook now a lot, people ask for recommendations, and everyone will put their 5 cents worth in there as to, who they recommend. They want to also be seen as the authority, that they know the best place to go or the right people to talk to. And if you're able to create an environment that they absolutely know that whoever they refer to you is going to be looked after, then it means that they actually have a really strong sense of ownership over your brand as well. Now, when people start doing that, there is a much stronger buy-in from everybody, because let's face it, we would far rather go to someone and deal with a business or buy products from somebody who has been referred to us, because the first thing we do is we might pick up the phone, or when we walk into the store, we might say, Jackie recommended me. And so that initially creates this connection, it creates a bond. And look, if anybody recommends somebody to your business, one thing that you do need to do is, firstly, you need to look after that new customer. But secondly, you really do need to thank that client of yours for having so much faith and trust in you that they would do that. Because really, that's the biggest testament to your business that you can possibly get, is when people start referring on to you. So you can see it creates loyalty, it creates these raving fans, it creates word of mouth advertising, which, let's face it, advertising these days is expensive. And so if there's any way that we can alleviate any of that pressure on us in having to spend money advertising, if we've got our clients doing that for us, it is a very powerful marketing tool. And you can put things in place that encourages people. Ask people, if you've really enjoyed this particular service of ours or product of ours, do you know anyone who could benefit from this as well? And you know what, if they've loved what you've done or what you offer, I'm sure they'll have a handful of people that they might be able to refer you on to. So ask them. They're your best advocates, especially if they've loved what you do. The other thing to keep in mind is, once they become raving fans, they become ambassadors for your brand as well. So, if you are in a stage where you need a little bit of help, you need to spread the word about something that you're doing, you can go straight to these people, because if they love what you do, they would be more than happy to become an ambassador for your brand. And sometimes just asking them that kind of question. You know, you might have a particular client who you've loved working with, they've had great results from what you've been able to do with them, and so just by approaching them and saying, can I have a video testimonial from you, or even a written testimonial, whatever it is, you know, that might make them feel really good about themselves as well, to know that you have absolutely loved working with them too. All right. So one of the things that I'd like to do, and this was a question that came from Bronnie about how do you maintain the consistency. I think one of the first things you have to find out is, well, what's happening with your brand in the first place? You know, are you at a stage where you're working well with your brand, or is there this big disconnect? So I actually have my book here, which is the Brand Magic Masterclass workbook, and in here there are a bunch of different worksheets that you can go through. There's a whole section on how to create a brand strategy as well. But one of the things in here is a brand audit, and there are a couple of questions that you can ask yourself. So I'm going to go through those now. So the first thing that you can do, and like this is literally a 5-minute brand audit, super, super quick. One of the first things that you can do is get all your collateral together. And I'm talking business cards, brochures if you have any, what your logo looks like on different types of print material, because often it gets printed differently. And also have a look at your social media, your website. Put it all together and go, does this look like it belongs? Does it belong together? Does it look like a family? Now, it doesn't all have to look absolutely exactly the same, but it needs to look like it's a family, like it belongs together. And so this is where, hey Bronnie, nice to see you. This is where we need to really make sure that we are on the right track. And so a lot of people feel that this is where they're getting lost, and you know, they look at one piece and it looks slightly different to the next piece, and then look grossly different to the next piece, and then you hop on the website and the fonts might be different, the colors might be different, you might be using an entirely different language compared to what other people are using, you know, in your marketing material. So you need to have a look at all of that. So we look at how your visual representation is. So your colors, your fonts, are you keeping that consistent? And you know, I saw this happen a lot with a number of businesses when hand lettering became really popular, and a whole lot of brands decided, oh, you know, we're a little bored of our font, let's just do some hand lettering and try these different things. And really all it did was show a little bit of chaos happening there. It's following those bright shiny things. And the reason why some of these big brands do so well is because they keep it consistent, they keep it tight. And yes, you know, hand lettering, I love it. But you know what, if it's not part of my brand, it shouldn't appear in any of our collateral. And the same thing goes for you. So you need to make sure that all your print looks the same, colors are really similar. It needs to look like a family. The next thing that you want to do is have a look at your social media. So on your social media, have a look at what kind of images you're posting. You know, if you're posting product images, make sure that all the products are photographed in the same way, so it has a very consistent feel. Because if you're going to spend time and money doing a photo shoot, then you may as well be able to use those same images across multiple platforms and have them all feel like they fit together. So if you were going to have these different photographs on social media, if you were to then put them in your website and have them in your shopping cart, would your shopping cart look consistent? Would it all look similar? And that might be that you photograph everything on a white background. If you have clothing, it might be that you use the same model, or you might have a mannequin that you use. You might style things in a particular way. You might do all your photography like flat lays or front on. Use the same kind of lighting so everything becomes consistent. Don't then go on your social media and post random photos of memes and things that don't relate. Don't use stock images if you've got your own beautiful photography to use. In fact, I'd say probably don't use stock images at all. You know, don't go and use cartoon characters if that doesn't fit in with your brand. So just make sure that you're being really consistent and tight with everything that you're producing. Okay, so one of the other things that you look at is your website. Does the message on your website relate to the other areas of your business? So with your digital footprint, that's one of the things to look at, to say, well, is the message that we're sending on our website, the language, the tone, what we're saying, does that reflect what is happening in social media? Or do we have a very different way of communicating on our website, and then social media, it all becomes very relaxed and a completely different language and tone that you're using there. So have a look at that, because sometimes that's what happens, especially if you're outsourcing that part of your business. You need to give a lot of structure to those people so that they understand the kind of words that you would normally say in your everyday language. So social media is one of those other things. Just coming back to imagery, if you can do your own images, it is far better than using the images of somebody else or using photos that you have been able to source on stock libraries. Stock libraries are great. They give you a lot of access to things, but it also means that everybody has access to it. So you tend to find the same images popping up, and I've seen this happen with law firms a lot, and removalists. You tend to find that they have the same set of photographs of plumbers and electricians. They all go to the same place to source the same images, and before you know it, all their websites look exactly the same. They actually have the same workers in their business as their competitors because they're all using the same imagery. So if you can, I would highly recommend that you invest in getting your own suite of photography done. And this doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. There are some amazing photographers out there that might hire their time by the hour or buy a certain package where you might be able to get 30 photographs or whatever the case is. But you have to understand that these people are professionals, and they're going to put you in the best possible light that you'll be in. And if you say to them, I would like to have a suite of photographs taken where some of them are fairly generic, they might be more industry based rather than photos of our faces or particular products, then you are able to double up on the amount of imagery. So definitely invest in some really good photography, because I really think from a visual point of view that can make a massive difference. All right, so hopefully you've realized in today's session that branding is definitely an investment. It is not an expense. This is a long-term investment into your business, because if you can get the groundwork done right from the beginning, a really good strategy where you know exactly what you want to say, how you want to say it, in the right language and tone, with the right images, the right colors, the right fonts, it means that everybody in the business can get on board with something like that. There's a lot of structure around that everybody can adhere to and stick with these guidelines. And once that starts to happen, this consistency, this message that keeps going out to your clients, a consistent level of service, it means that they can trust that when they come to you, they are going to get what you've promised them. And that's where the magic of branding lies. So hopefully you've got a little bit out of this. Go ahead, do the brand audit. I will also pop up a link below so that you can hop on. I've got a blog post about it, and you can read a little bit more about that. And you can do your own brand audit and find out if your brand does need to have a little bit of a revamp. Maybe it needs a little bit of TLC. A lot of times it's not about starting from scratch. So I do want to let you know that. A lot of people think that they have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That is not the case. Often when you're working with a good brand strategist, there are ways that we can work around what you've already got. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes there's such a big misalignment. But it's a really good exercise to do to see if you are mostly on track, and then it's a case of tweaking things. So I hope this has helped. Leave any comments below. If you have any questions, pop them below as well. I'll endeavor to answer those, and I will see you next week at 4 o'clock.